member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honour to rise at this hour and bring forward recommendations that were contained in it was a question, of course. That's why we're here in adjournment proceedings. It was a question I asked the Prime Minister on February 2nd of this year. As the budget that was, of course, tabled yesterday, I referenced in my question, was in the drafting stage. And I thought that one might, in drafting the budget, look to previous promises made by the governing party and see if they didn't create a framework of guidance to assist the Prime Minister and his Minister of Finance in drafting the budget. So I suggested that, for instance, if times are tight and you want to contain spending, it would be a good idea to cancel spending money on fossil fuel infrastructure, which the government had suggested in previous election campaigns was a priority to meet climate targets, that we would follow the advice of scientists. I also asked the Prime Minister if this wasn't a good time to stop spending money on the Trans Mountain Pipeline, which between the time I asked the question and today has risen in its estimated cost to over $30 billion. Its original price tag back when I intervened at the National Energy Board, and it was a private sector project being run by Kinder Morgan, was that it would cost approximately $5 billion. So that's a six-fold growth in the price tag and a remarkable $12 billion increase since this time last year. That's really quite astonishing. I also asked if it wouldn't be a good idea to save money by canceling buying the F-35 fighter jets that remain controversial in the United States, where Pentagon critics are wondering if this is good value for money because the F-35 is still plagued with problems, and in going forward that we shouldn't deliver on the promises the government had made, such as in funding the disability benefit, following up on promises for pharmacare, deliver on an independent Canada Water Agency, and the promises to live up to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. My closing question to the Prime Minister is, will the Prime Minister use this budget to deliver on his promises? Well, now we know the answer, and it's partially yes. I would start with the good news. This budget does commit, at long last, to, along a specific timeline, the Canada Water Agency. We now know, and I'll congratulate my friend who's here tonight to respond, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Canada Water Agency has been something I know he cares a great deal about. It's now to be based in Winnipeg. There is more funding for fresh water than we've seen in some time, although not as much as was promised in the Liberal platform. But let's say that's a partial delivery on a promise. I hope my question helped. Who knows? But the Canada Water Agency is an important promise, and it will be independent, and it will see legislation brought forward. And again, the clock is ticking on that. I hope when they say soon, they mean really soon, not 2 years soon like the last ones. But the Trans Mountain Pipeline isn't mentioned in this budget. We know the price and the cost is falling on Canadian taxpayers because it's now a Crown corporation. We know the debt load from buying it definitely falls on this government, and various promises not to spend money on it are really ring hollow as construction continues against the interests of sovereign First Nations like Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, and Squamish, and the Wasanich nations that absolutely protest its existence, and we know it's a climate killer. There were various ways that we could have reduced fossil fuel subsidies, but in this budget they expanded, because we now see dirty fossil fuel used to create hydrogen, so it's no longer green hydrogen. We also have seen, and this is the worst part of the budget for me, a commitment to open the Arctic offshore to oil and gas development. I'll close there, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and indeed it's a pleasure to participate in tonight's debate and talk about Budget 2023, a made-in-Canada plan for a strong middle class, an affordable economy, and healthy future. And Madam Speaker, I'm going to respond to a few of the promises that the government made that are referenced in the member's original question. And one of those was regarding funding for a Canada Water Agency. And Madam Speaker, we know how much healthy lakes and rivers are essential to Canadians, communities, and businesses across the country, and the threat that climate change and pollution pose to our fresh water, which is why in Budget 2023, we are moving forward to establish a new Canada Water Agency, which will be headquartered in my home community of Winnipeg. And I really want to thank the honourable member, leader of the Green Party, for her steadfast support of the concept of a standalone departmental agency, independent of Environment and Climate Change Canada, reporting directly to the minister. This will be a legislated Canada Water Agency, Madam Speaker, and that legislation, I hope, will be introduced soon. Meanwhile, the Canada Water Agency will be operable in a form that will be effective until it formally becomes that standalone agency. And Madam Speaker, this is in addition to proposing major investments to strengthen our freshwater action plan. For example, we will invest $650 million over 10 years to monitor, assess, and do restoration work in the Great Lakes, Lake Winnipeg, Lake of the Woods, the St. Lawrence River, the Fraser River, the St. John River, the Mackenzie River, and Lake Simcoe. These are water bodies from coast to coast to coast, Madam Speaker, and these investments will support better coordination of efforts to manage and protect fresh water across Canada. And again, I want to thank the honourable member for her support of our freshwater investments, and I would agree with her that we need to go further and faster. And indeed, there are our future budgets where I certainly hope those investments will be considered. The honourable member also asked about seeing progress on advancing reconciliation. And since 2015, the federal government has worked with Indigenous partners to advance reconciliation and make significant distinction-based investments to respond to the unique histories, interests, and priorities of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities, Madam Speaker. And through Budget 2023, the government continues to advance reconciliation by supporting healthy communities and investing in self-determined solutions. For example, Budget 2023 proposes investments to improve safe and affordable housing, which is critical to improving health and social incomes and to ensuring a better future for Indigenous people and their communities. Madam Speaker, how much time do I have left? 15 seconds? Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. I will end there and continue my remarks after the next question. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honourable member to take his phone out of the desk because it's running interference with the microphone, if you don't mind. The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And it is good to be able to recognize progress on a key commitment, the Canada Water Agency. But nothing is more pressing, particularly in light of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change last report, that we are absolutely running out of time. There is no wiggle room. There's no time for procrastination. And I have to say I was deeply shocked to find on page 117 of this budget, in case others are looking for where you might find it, a commitment to Arctic offshore oil and gas. This runs counter to everything we know, just like opening up Bay du Nord for offshore drilling, opening up the Arctic for more oil and gas in the region, the part of this world most changed by the climate crisis, our Arctic. To start thinking that we should be drilling for oil and gas there is an abomination. We know that what we have to do is to cut emissions, and the only way to cut emissions is to be bold and stop being cowardly.
Secretary.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. And Budget 2023 will make targeted and responsible investments to build a stronger and greener economic future for all Canadians. In the end, these will make Canada a better place to live, work, and thrive for everyone. And I'm proud of the fact that Budget 2023 will mean better public health care, progress towards truth and reconciliation, new opportunities for Canadian workers, and I think, as the honourable member wishes, as do I, building a stronger, cleaner, greener, and more sustainable 21st century economy. Thank you, Madam Speaker.